Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to go through the usage of parentheses in regex pattern in AutoHotkey. So if you're interested in this topic, please continue watching. Alright, welcome back. So let's get started. Now there are a couple of ways parentheses can be used, and these are the ways. So I'm going to go through all of these with you today. And so beginning with the first one, we have the pipes. I have covered pipes, how to use this in the qualifiers video, so I'm not gonna go deeply into this, but I'll show you an example in a bit. Now the parentheses can also be used with qualifiers such as question mark or plus, or ranges as well, such as min max. And parentheses can change the options on the fly. What that means is, as an example, if you use parentheses like this with a question mark making the start within the parentheses and followed by options such as I makes regex pattern match insensitive in terms of the case. And so whatever that comes after this will match without the case sensitivity turned on. I'll now show you an example in a bit so you can understand what I mean by this. And lastly, the parentheses allow you to capture sub-patterns. Sub-patterns are very important in using regex match, and I have shown you this really briefly in my previous video, but we will go deeply into this, and today's video is mainly going to be about capturing the sub-pattern. So without further ado, let's go into the examples. So pipes, like I said, I've explained this to you already. So this is a way that pipes can be used. These are basically the OR operator, and so I'm trying to find the Tuesday here, and this Tuesday can be any of Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I've got the day following after the parentheses, and therefore if I run this, I will be able to fish out just the Tuesday, and this can be, like I said, any of the days, and that will do. Now with parentheses, we can use the qualifiers as well, and I've got an example here. So I'm going to show you the plus in this example, and then the next one, the question mark. So now if you want to, say for example, use the plus to represent at least one or more occurrence of the preceding regex pattern, and you want that preceding regex pattern to be ABC instead of this, the difference is that if you put in the parentheses like this, let me just go ahead and run it and see what we get. I get a number 19 representing the starting position of this bit of the string, and therefore it grabbed that. Now the difference between, let me just get out of all the message boxes. The difference between this and this is that if you so this basically means that I am going to look for A, B, C, 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 C. Right? So if I go ahead and run this, I will get the same number, but this time I'm not going to get A, B, C, 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 A, B, C, A, B, C, but I'm going to get A, B followed by lots of C's, and therefore this is just gobbling up all the C's that occur after the first C. So that's the difference. So if you want a pattern that represents a whole string like this, or a pattern like this, then you need to wrap it in parentheses when you combine it with a qualifier. So let's move on to the question mark. With the question mark, you have I have this string called the beautiful colors with XYZ sitting in the middle of the word color, and question marks makes the previous regex pattern optional, right? So XYZ becomes optional. So let me just delete this and run it. What we will get is number 15, and then the matched pattern is color XYZ. So if I get rid of this, this will also do a match, right? Now, but the difference here, when you don't put in the parentheses like this, is that it will make only Z optional. So for example, in our string, if I get rid of Z, we'll still find a match because Z is optional. So Z is not a requirement. So XY is totally fine. XY is still considered part of the regex pattern, which is fine. We don't need the Z. But in this case, if you put in the parenthesis like I did initially to wrap XYZ in the parentheses, what this is going to look for is the optionality of XYZ's existence in the string. So we don't have XYZ here. And so what we're going to happen is, if I run this, it's not going to find a match because there's no XYZ or the absence of XYZ. There's XY, which is not this pattern that we have provided. So this is how you use the parentheses with qualifiers, and you can also use this with the ranges such as min max. So here's an example I've got, and it's a similar example to the previous one where I have a repetition of ABC and it's repeated 4 times, whereas I'm just trying to get at a minimum of 1 time to a maximum of 2 times the ABC pattern, not ABC without the parentheses, because this is gonna repeat C like that up to 2 times. So you want the parentheses if you want ABC as a regex pattern. And so if I run this, I will get ABC appearing twice. Now, to apply the case insensitivity or case sensitivity in line using the parentheses, this is the way you can do it. And so I've got the beautiful colors again with XYZ in the middle. Notice how these are all small letters, and in my regex pattern I have the same color with XYZ in the middle, but these are capital letters, and this makes that whatever that comes after that, so color XYZ, is going to be case insensitive. And so we're going to find a match even though the XYZ here is small letters, whereas this one, now the difference between the first one and the second one, the input string is the same, the hashtag is the same. The only difference is that the first letter B is capitalized in my second example, and therefore this is not going to match because we don't have the case sensitivity insensitivity switched on. So this is going to be case sensitive up until this point, and so this does not matter. So if I go ahead and run it, the first one will have found a match and I'm going to get the pattern extracted like that, whereas the second example I have no match as represented by the value of 0 and a blank message box. Alright, so that's how you change the case sensitivity or apply different option on the fly inside the line. And so let's move on to capturing the sub pattern. Now, capturing the sub pattern is a very useful feature where you're able to grab just the value that you want. So in this example, I have a long string that says, oh, hello there, how are you, goodbye. And by putting in, so let me just remove the parentheses and run this and see what we get. I'm going to get as my first message box the output variable, which represents everything from hello to you. And then with my next message box, which says output variable 1, I'm not going to get anything, and that's because I have not captured the sub pattern. To capture the sub pattern, I'm going to put in parentheses like this, and what this means is I'm just going to grab what occurs between hello and you and put that into output variable 1. Output variable is still going to capture everything. However, output variable 1 is going to capture just the first sub pattern that is matched. This is called a pseudo array, and this is the first element in the pseudo array. So let me go ahead and run this. And so the first one is going to capture everything because that's output variable, not output variable followed by a number. So hello to you, all of this is captured. And the next one, we are going to get just this bit here, which sits inside the parentheses. So I think it includes the space here because I didn't put any spaces here, from here to this bit. So that's what we get in output variable 1. So when you have only one pattern like sub pattern like that, we will grab the sub pattern in that manner using output variable 1. And this time I've got multiple sub patterns, and so I have a string that consists of 3 words, and I am capturing using the same regex pattern, capturing all three words in this manner, separated by spaces like that. And so if I go ahead and run this, first one, output variable, is going to be everything because this matches all of this, so that's okay. And then the next one, we're going to get output var 1. So the first sub pattern should be represented by output variable followed by number 1, right? So you have number 1 here. And then the second one, so first one we have gotten O, which is the first word, and then the second one, which is represented by output variable 2, representing the second element in the pseudo array, which we got hello. And then the next one is the last one there. So that's how you capture multiple sub patterns. But mind you, if you put in too many sub patterns, or if you try to capture too many sub patterns as opposed to how many you have in the string that you're feeding in, this is going to not return anything to you, and that is because you don't have the fourth sub pattern there. So what you need to do is you make sure that you are capturing exactly this the right number of sub patterns. So if I go ahead and add something else here as well, what's gonna happen is it's going to capture oh hello first, because there's 3 sub patterns that I'm trying to capture, but then there are 4 words in there, so it's going to capture this bit first from here to here, and then this as the second one and that as the third one. So we get this there as the second one and something as the third one. All right, so next up is how you can also name these sub patterns. So here is, let me just bring back the old examples. The old example is here, and then the example that uses names for the sub pattern is this one. And the difference that you may be able to detect now is that you have a question mark followed by angle bracket, closing angle bracket here, and what goes inside the angle brackets is the name of the sub patterns. I call the first one my pattern, second one your pattern, and then third one, this can be anything, and then the fourth sub pattern I have not named it. Okay, now notice how the actual regex pattern comes after the name. Okay, so if I go ahead and run this, first one is going to be output variable, which grabbed everything. You can just leave it out if you don't need it. Now the second one is going to be the first sub pattern match. Now notice how I call this my pattern, and here's my pattern here. So when you put an output variable name like this, you have to copy that and then paste it into the back of the output variable in order to mean that part of the sub pattern. So mean that sub pattern of the entire pattern. So you add it, you append it to the back of the output variable name like that. And then the next one, we're going to get a hello, and that is your pattern, this value here. And then the third one is going to be, this can be anything, as you can see, it was that one. And then the next one is friend, the fourth word, the fourth sub pattern, which I have not named. And notice how the output variable number is 4 instead of 1, because this is the fourth sub pattern. This is not output var 1. Okay, so I'm going to show you a useful example of using this capturing the sub pattern part that is otherwise slightly difficult to do without the use of regex in AutoHotkey. So what we are trying to do here is that I have a multi-line string like that. I've got 3 lines in this string, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to match the word line. So you can see the regex pattern that I have in regex match function is line, and let's just assume that I don't know how many times the word line is occurring. Now normally if you want to do and find something like this, you would not put in a whole word like that. You would put in a wildcard like this in order to, you know, vary your regex search. But for the purpose of demonstration, I'm making it simple so that I'm just using the word line. Let's just assume I don't know how many lines occur in my multi-line string, and what I'm trying to do here is I'm going to set the starting position variable as 1, and this will mark the start of my regex match function initially. I'm running a while loop afterwards, and I'll explain you why I'm doing that in a bit. So here is my regex match, where I'm putting in the string, the multi-line string, and my regex pattern is going to be line, and I'm capturing that as a sub pattern. This is not entirely needed, but I'm just doing it for the sake of demonstration. And I'm calling the output variable subpad, and I'm putting in the starting position, and this is going to be 1 in the first iteration of the while loop. And once I grab, so the output variable, the sub pattern is still going to be line, because I'm looking for a line. So when I find a match, it's going to be line. So this is not going to be a very intuitive example, but you can simply just replace this with a regex pattern of yours in order to find unknown patterns, number of pattern counts in a large haystack. So subpad 1 is going to be line, and I'm adding a line break afterwards and putting that into a variable called subpad list. This is my list of sub patterns that are captured within this while loop. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to update the starting position for my next iteration of the while loop. And how I do that is by using the found position here. And the found position is going to be, let me just uncover this, is the this one here. So the first match is right here, right? So the found position is going to be this position. So it's going to calculate the number of characters up until this point, and then I am adding the length of the string of the sub pattern 1, which is going to be line. And so starting from here, line has 4 characters, 1 2 3 4, and this is going to be my new starting position. And that's the end of the while loop. It will go back as long as the found position does not equal starting position, right? So the found position in my case is this, right? And I have added 4 characters to it, and therefore my found position is not going to be the same as starting position. So it's going to move on to the next iteration of the loop. So once you stop finding more pattern matches, then the found position will be the same as starting position, because this is not going to be of any value. This is going to be 0, and therefore found position gets assigned to starting position, and we'll get out of the while loop when we don't find any more matches. So in the next iteration of the loop, I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to find the line regex pattern, and that's going to start from this bit, so starting position here, and I'm going to find that and then extract this, assign that into subpad list, and then update the starting position by looking at the found position and going 1 2 3 4 to the right until the end. So if I go ahead and run it, I'm getting 3 matches of line. So notice how there's an S here, but it doesn't matter because I have 3 4 match the line, right? I never needed an S here. Okay, so this is how you can find all the matches. This is quite useful in reality, so you might be able to use this sometime soon if you're looking for sub pattern matches in a large haystack, like if you're parsing a HTML page or whatnot. This could be useful. Now I'm here introducing the concept of greedy and lazy. It's a very important concept, but it's really simple to understand. So greedy is you're trying to gobble up everything as much as possible, whereas lazy makes the search ungreedy. So it's the opposite of greedy. So this might not make sense straight away, but I'll explain to you how this works. So now I am using an example that is similar to the previous one. So I'm going to find all the matches that fall within my sub pattern in this multi-line string. And as you can probably imagine, what I'm doing is I'm trying to get all the values that sit inside the square brackets. So hello there and question mark is what I'm trying to get. So starting position 1 while loop, which ends here, and then I'm doing a regex match and putting in the string in here, and then the regex pattern is going to be this. Notice how I'm using the escape sequence to mean literally the square brackets. And then I have put in the sub pattern match, which I hope it to be these values. and sub pattern, starting position, blah blah blah. So if I run this, my intuition says I'm going to get hello and then the line break followed by there and then followed by question mark, but that is not going to be the case. So I just ran it and this is the result I got. This is quite different to what I expected. The first line should have been hello, the second line there, and the third line question mark. And this happened because I did not make this regex match ungreedy or lazy. This is by default in greedy mode, and what that means is I'm first starting with the square bracket here, right? And I'm trying to fish out everything that sits between the opening square bracket and the closing square bracket. So I would have thought, okay, I found this character, that character, this, and then I found a closing square bracket here. So I thought I would have ended here, but this search is greedy. So it goes all the way to the end until it finds the last occurring closing square bracket. So that's why I have got, so this is one string, I have got all of this into my message box. Okay, so this is how the greedy search works. You find the beginning of the regex pattern, and then you know that is going to be the closing square bracket is going to be the end of the regex pattern. And so this could be it, but there's one more here. And then there's another one here. So I'm going to go all the way to the end. The gobble everything on the way is the greedy search. Now the lazy search, how you initiate that is simply by putting in a question mark here. And it's called lazy because you start from here and then you meet the first closing square bracket. And then you go, okay, I'm going to get lazy. I'm going to stop here. And then do a new start a new search, and then hit that. And then you know that's the beginning of the regex pattern, and then you see the end of the regex pattern, and so you go, okay, well, there's my second match, and then the third match. That's how it works. So if you put in a question mark, if I go ahead and run it, I will get a result that is more aligned with what I was expecting. So this is how you can convert from a greedy search into lazy search. Okay, so bear with me, just the last example I've got. If you want to find a the nth match instead of everything, as we've done in the previous example, if you just want to find the nth match, here's an example. And what I'm trying to do is I'm going to match the values that sit inside the closing angle bracket here and the opening angle bracket. So this is an anchor tag in HTML, right? And so if I want to do that, I am doing this. So I've got double quotation mark to represent the single double quotation mark, and I have double quotation mark to escape for AutoHotkey, and then I've got the pattern here. Okay, and notice how this is this is made lazy because I don't want to go all the way to the end. I want just America, Africa text, and Europe text, and Asia text. Now, if you want to get, let's say, the third match, what I'm doing here is up until this point is the same, and in this line, I am grabbing the sub pattern, in which case, in the first iteration of while loop, it's going to be this one, right? And I'm going to assign that into a variable called variable a index. And the a index in the first iteration of this while loop is going to be number 1, right? So this is going to be variable 1, and then the next iteration is going to be variable 2 and variable 3 and variable 4. And therefore, if you want the third match, all you got to do is at the end you do a message box or anything using variable number 3, and therefore you're going to get the third match from the top like that. Okay, so this is how you can extract just the nth match within a haystack that you're performing the regex match from. Okay, so this is it in today's video. Let me just, I think I've only got, okay, so I've only got the regex option prefixes left for this section of the video. And I think in the video after that, we're going to go into regex replace. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Let's go.